Okay, we'll start now. I got 30 minutes late because last time also there were many who joined later because they could not join the class at 1. So that's why we took the class to 1:30, right? So never mind. So now I want to know the place where we stopped. Um, in this tune, uh, we have, I think we have done Colebrook reformations. Colebrook reformations finished. And Crewe-McLaren reformations, did we draw this diagram here, Crewe-McLaren Legislative Council? Any message? No. So then up to what, did we complete the second page? Up to here, other organizations, forwarded petitions? Yes. So now I think we have to do from here, main demands of Sri Lankans, right? Okay, now I'm going to the uh, whiteboard once again because this lesson you have to, yeah, that this lesson you have to get a clear understanding. So in the Colebrook Legislative Council, there were 15 members. Out of these 15 members, there were officials. How many officials? 9. And unofficials are there. So unofficials, 6. So out of these 6 unofficials, there were 3 Europeans. So European, 3, Sinhala 1, Tamil 1, and Burger 1. So this was the initial Legislative Council of Kolkata. So however, because of the struggles of Europeans, so Europeans they came forward to struggle against this Legislative Council because they wanted to reduce the powers of the governor. So what powers of the governor wanted to be reduced? Decision taking powers. So they could not do that through this council because of many weaknesses. We discussed many weaknesses of this council. However, they started struggling. Due to the struggles, 2 more members were added to this council. To this side, 2 members as unofficials and 1 Muslim and upcountry Sinhalese. So that's how 2 members had been added to this council. Then this person became low country Sinhalese gradually because he was up country Sinhalese. So what were the weaknesses of this council? Having an official majority. So this is one of the weaknesses because of the official majority. When taking decisions, always they influenced. They supported the governor. They were extremely loyal to the governor. Because of that, these people they could not do anything in the council. They were the minority. Only 6 people were there. Later on, it became 8, even though official majority. Even that governor was nominating members to the council. So nominating members means his friends were nominated to the council. So because of that, this is the second weakness of this council. When governor nominating members, once again they were loyal to the governor and the decisions cannot be taken. And the third weakness was here. These people were representing a communal group. Europeans, these 3 people were representing Europeans. Is 1 person Sinhalese, 1 person Tamil, 1 person Burger, 1 person Muslim side. Its communal representation. Communal representation was a weakness. The fourth weakness was not using voting. So no voting, no elections, no franchise. So that's another weakness. However, this council was not given the chance of arguing and questioning. So that's the fifth weakness. Because of these weaknesses, what happened? Because of these weaknesses, once again, our people wanted some things to the council. They were the demands. So they were the demands forwarded by our people. So what were the demands? One demand was what? To increase the number of unofficials. This is the first demand, to increase the number of unofficials. Second demand was electing members. They wanted to elect members to bring franchise, to bring elections to this council. Third one, abolition of communal representation, and they wanted the provincial representation. Provincial representation. So they wanted provincial representation. And like that, they wanted to increase the number of members in this council. That is the fourth demand. So what were the demands of the locals? To increase the number of unofficials and to bring voting elections to this council and to bring provincial representation by abolishing communal representation and to increase the number of members in this council. So these demands were put forwarded by the locals. I told you that one of the major changes in the society that had been brought under these Colebrook reforms was the birth of the middle class. And that day I explained who were the middle class. Middle class means the noble class was there and the common people were there, and because of these plantations, some people became rich and their children were given an English education in Sri Lanka. After that, they were sent to Great Britain for higher studies, so that those children who came to Sri Lanka became rich and educated. So they were known as the middle class. So middle class means between the nobles and the common people. Nobles means the traditional rich class. Common people were the normal people. So these middle class wanted these reformations because they wanted to be included to this council. They wanted to come to this council. So however, these are the demands of the middle class leaders, that only brought the Crew McCallum reformations. I think it's clear. Now we'll go to the place where we have to write. So now see, okay, right. So this is the place. Main demands of Sri Lankans. With these demands, this person had forwarded a petition to British Parliament. He was Sir James Pearis. So that we wrote, I think here, the major effect of the Colebrook Commission reforms was the declining of the noble class and the birth of the new middle class. But political reforms are not activated in relation of economic and social changes. Okay, right. And so that the middle class was not happy, and as a result there was a great demand for the reformations during this time. So 1909, the three organizations we wrote here, the three organizations were the Low Country Planters Association, Chilau Club and the Jaffna Club. Now we have to write these main demands. Okay, write these demands. Those who did not write, the others who wrote, never mind. Okay, so here, right, this is the one. Right, main demands of the Sri Lankans. Increase in the number of unofficial members in the Legislative Council. Discontinuation of the nationalist representative system. Electing members from provinces according to the provincial representation system. Increasing the number of the Legislative Committee. Okay, after writing the demands, you can write that Crewe McCallum reforms came how? Governor was at that time McCallum, Henry McCallum. Henry McCallum did not like to bring any reformations after 80 years. Now, this is actually after 85 years, like from the Colebrook reforms. Colebrook reforms had been implemented in 1833, like. So now this is like 1910, no? So 1910 means how many years? Like at least 85 years or 90 years. But McCallum did not like. But the colonial secretary was Lord Crewe. Lord Crewe wanted to give some reformations, and what did he do? He just got together with Governor McCallum, and he and Governor McCallum for that the compiled these reformations, and they implemented in 1910 only. They compiled these reformations, and 1912 only they implemented. So the compilation 1910, implementation 1912, so that we call that Crewe-McCallum reforms as 1910 to 1912. 1910 to 1912 reformations. Okay, right. So now I think you wrote these main demands of Sri Lankans. These demands were they are forwarded by the middle class. Middle class. I once again I will explain who are the middle class until the others are writing. Those Sri Lankans who provided some services to plantations like transportation using their carts, they became rich. So when they became rich, they gave their children an English education in Sri Lanka because Colebrook started some English schools. So in Colebrook English schools, these children were given an education. So after the completion of the education in Sri Lanka, they were sent to England for higher studies. Those children who went to England for higher studies completed their education and returned to the country, and those children were educated and rich, not like their fathers and mothers. They were educated also. They formed the Sri Lankan middle class. Sri Lankan middle class leaders wanted to join this legislative council, but they were not having any chance. They were not given any chance. So that means they did not have the political power. As they did not have the political power, they wanted to get the political power. That's why they forwarded these demands. The four demands: to increase the number of unofficials, to discontinue the nationalist representative system and to bring the provincial representative system, and to increase the number of legislative committee and bring elections. I think you completed all the blanks, right? Completed, right? Now we'll come to once again to the whiteboard. Now see, this was how the Legislative Council of Colebrook. 15 members are there, 9 officials and 6 unofficials. Now don't draw anything. Just look at this whiteboard. What I do. Now you can remember 2 members were added to the council later on because of the struggles of the Europeans. So I think, give me 1 minute. You can see, right? Now can see. The 2 members are added. So those 2 members are added to unofficial side. Okay. So this became 8 then. So under Q-Macallum reforms, what happened? So that day I told you to draw the Colebrook Legislative Council in one color. Even the lines in one color. Even write in one color. Here also you can see I have used only black color. Now under Q-Macallum reforms, 4 more members were added to this council and the total became 21. Don't draw anything, okay? So still don't draw anything. So there were 17 members, 4 new members were added to this council and this became 21. So you are not given to draw this council in the exam paper. But you should know what happened, what was added, those things you should know. Then out of these 4 members, 2 members were added to this side and this became 11. And 2 members were added to this side and this became 10. Though this reformation was there, still there was an official majority. Still there was an official majority, not the unofficial majority, right? So then, out of these 10 members, we know that in the Colebrook Legislative Council, all the members are nominated by the governor. All the members are nominated by the governor. Here also, governor nominated some members as well. A new introduction was there. What was the new introduction? Elected. So elections were brought to this council. For the first time in the history, elections were introduced under Crewe-McCallum reforms. How many were elected? Now, who are the members here in the Colebrook Council? There were Europeans. How many? Three were there. There were Sinhalese. They were low country Sinhalese. One. There were Tamils. One. There were Burghers. One. There were Muslims. One. There were upcountry Sinhalese. One. So these were the members in the Crewe-McCallum Legislative Council. Three Europeans were there, one low country Sinhalese, one Tamil, one Burgher, one Muslim, one upcountry Sinhalese. Right? Now those members had to be included here. So these three Europeans and one Burgher, these three people, three Europeans and one Burgher, four people, they have been sent to the elected side. They have been sent to the elected side. So now they are in the Colebrook Council. That's why I'm using the black color. Why black color? Because they were there in Colebrook Legislative Council. And Europeans are there. Europeans are there. And Burghers are there. Right? Burghers are there. So how many Europeans were there? Three Europeans are there in the Colebrook Legislative Council. One Burgher was there. But here I have not written how many were elected and how many were nominated. Out of these 10, 4 were elected and 6 were nominated. 4 were elected, 6 were nominated. So then what happened? 3 Europeans, 1 Burgher. 4 no. But what happened here? 1 European had been reduced. 1 European had been removed. This became 2. All the new things I am drawing in red color. All the early things I draw in black color. So why by reducing one European here, he introduced one new thing, that is educated Ceylonese. Educated Ceylonese. So who is this educated Ceylonese? He was representing the middle class. Middle class members could not come to this council, no. They did not have the political power. So that's why he was included here by removing one European from the council. But he had to come how? Through elections. Then, out of these people, Europeans had been included, Burghers had been included. Now, low country, Sinhala Tamil, Muslim, and upcountry Sinhala was there. That means they were nominated once again by the governor. They were nominated once again by the governor. And here low country Sinhalese, there was one. So I'm just bringing that one to this side because uh, you can't clearly see it. So here under nominated, so low country Sinhalese were there, one. Tamils were there, one. Muslims were there, one. And upcountry Sinhalese were there, one. But there must be six. Here when we take 1, 1, 1, 1, 4. So for low country Sinhalese, one more added and this became 2. And for Tamils, one more added and this became 2. This was the Crewe-McCallum Legislative Council. Now this was the Crewe-McCallum Legislative Council. Once again what happened? 4 members were added. It became 22 total. Out of these 4, 2 were added to our official side, 2 were added to unofficial side. This became 11, this became 10. Still the official majority. Out of these 10, 6 were nominated by the governor and 4 were elected. Elections had been introduced. Out of these 4, 3 Europeans became 2, 1 Burgher, 1 educated Ceylonese. They had to come through elections. and governor is nominating two local Sinhalese, two Tamils, one Muslim, and one Afghan Sinhalese to this council. This is the this was the Curriculum Legislative Council. Now this council you have to draw in the space. So don't look at this one and draw. I'm just giving you the slideshow and see that and draw the council in the space where you are going to draw. You are going to draw it here. Curriculum Legislative Council. Mind about the space and draw this. Right? So here you can see this one and just draw it. Let me know after drawing because I am waiting for you. We have to finish this lesson within this month. Another two more within another 2 more days. I am going to finish this tune. And in the third day, I have sent you the timetable. The last day of this month is the unit test from second, third, and fourth lessons. Then we are starting the fifth lesson. I don't know whether we can start physical. If we can start physical, we'll start. But if we can't start physical classes, we'll go in this way. Your exam is not postponed. It's on 18th January 2022. Starting on 18th January up to 27th January. The dates have come. So it's not postponed and you have to face that exam. However, though the schools are started or not, though the physical classes are started or not. So you have to get ready. So I have seen that I have noticed that many of the students who come for the online are not studying. Still, they have not started studying. So this is the time that they have to start studying. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble later on, right? So if anyone has not started still studying, so now at least now even start. Otherwise, it will become too late. When it gets too late, once again you are going to rush. So when rushing something, the things may miss for you. So then that will be a problem. So that at least if you start now studying, you have ample of time. Otherwise, you don't have time. So these things I have to tell because I have seen in some physical classes, right? When I started that the students have not studied, right? Especially this had happened to brighter students. Brighter students, the level had gone down, and the average students they have done something. I don't know. I don't tell anything about the weaker people, right? So I'm just telling about the brighter students and that average have done something, but the brighter students they have done something less. Okay, I'm going to continue here once again. This council, what are the special features? I told you that you are not given, you are not allowed to draw this table or the diagram in your exam paper. No need. Just you should know the characteristics, special characteristics. Now, these are the two special characteristics in this council. I'm just using the blue color. This is the first special feature. This is the second special feature. So, what is this one? Elected. For the first time in the history, elections have been included. Elections have been introduced. In Colebrook Council, no elections. Only that nomination was there. Governor nominated whoever he liked. But here for the first time elected, that means elections have come, so elections have been introduced. The second special feature was that educated Ceylonese, the middle class members who did not have the political power, they were allowed to come. So they were allowed to come here through elections. They have to come to the council through elections by being elected, but however, they had a chance of coming to the council. These were the two special features of this legislative council. Now we'll see what is this election. What election was there? Now, presently, to become a voter, to vote in any election, the peoples or that members of the community, they should fulfill two requirements. They must be over 18, 18 plus. They must be a Sri Lankan. So that means any Sri Lankan who are 18 plus, who are over 18 years, can vote in any election in Sri Lanka. So these were the two qualifications to be fulfilled by people if they want to vote. Now you can't vote. Why? Though you are Sri Lankans, you are not over 18, you are under 18. But when we come to this election, the two qualifications to become a voter, to vote, were education and wealth. Education and wealth. So those educated, wealthy people could vote. So that's why the middle class could come, because middle class means they're wealthy and educated. Those wealthy and educated people can vote. What is the limitation of wealth? Then who are rich, who are poor? There's a limitation. So what's the limitation of wealth? Wealth means if anyone is earning more than 900 rupees per year, his annual income exceeding 900 rupees. If anyone's annual income is exceeding 900 rupees, he is rich. Or if anyone is possessing a property valuing more than 1500 rupees, okay? So now, if anyone is having a property means maybe a land, maybe a house, maybe a vehicle, maybe any other property, maybe a car, valuing more than 1500 rupees, he is rich. So as an example now, when you take you get more than 900 rupees monthly even from your parents. Even you are using some cell phones valuing more than 1500 rupees. That means even you are rich now. But at that time, anyone who is earning more than 900 rupees or having a property valuing more than 1500 years, only 4% of the population. 96% of the population were not fulfilling these two requirements. That means only 4% were rich. 90% of the population were poor. So that means this is not the universal franchise. This is known as limited vote. This is known as what? Limited vote. Why we call it as limited vote? Because only 4% of the population were eligible for voting, were fulfilling the requirements for voting. Education. So what is the limitation of education? Educated means, here educated means ability of reading and writing in English. Ability of reading and writing in English. Anyone who could read and write in English, they were educated. That is also like grade 2. Even grade 2 students, they can just read and write in English. So such the people, the percentage of the population that fulfill these two requirements are only 4%. 4% of the people of the population had the chance of voting, so that's why we call this as a limited vote. Now limited vote. So here introduction of not the universal franchise. Universal franchise means this one. Any Sri Lankan over 18 years had the chance of voting. So here only educated and wealthy people had the chance of voting. Because of that, limited vote was not a very good something to be introduced. What are the weaknesses of this council? Once again, this official majority is a weakness. This official majority is a weakness. And here still 11, official majority. Nominating members is a weakness. Governor nominating members is a weakness. Limited vote is a weakness. It should be universal franchise. This is universal franchise. Anyone over 18 years, any Sri Lankan had the chance of voting. This is limited. Limited to only 4%. It's a weakness. This is communal representation. Europeans, Burke, educated Ceylonese, low country Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, up country Sinhalese, they were communal. Communal representation is a weakness. So when we take the curriculum, legislative council, there were many weaknesses. Once again, like the Colebrook reforms. Only something special is that they introduced at least election and appointed one middle class member to this council. The first middle class member appointed to this council was Sir Ponnambalam Ramanathan. Okay, Sir Ponnambalam Ramanathan. So if you have any question, you can just forward, and then if not, we just can write the note. Right. Anything if you have, please forward me. Any question, anything, any place where you could not understand. So in Colombo class, they ask many questions, right? You also can ask any question. If not, we'll go to this one. Yes, one question came. We'll see that one. Special features of cream curriculum reforms and limited what weaknesses of the reforms, and this part we are going to fill now. Using this note, we'll see what was the question asked. Okay, full clear. That is not a question. Full clear. Right. Right. Okay. Special features. The two special features are introduction of franchise, that means elections. An election of an educated Ceylonese to the Legislative Council. Then you write the definition for the limited what. So here pink color means you have to highlight, right? Limited what means granting of voting power to those who were rich and educated. Only 4% of the population had the chance of voting. These are the weaknesses of the reforms: official majority, continuation of communal representation, using limited vote, and nominating members to the Legislative Council. I think today my video is clearer. I started using a new webcam, right? Not the early one. Okay, I think finish. So I'm waiting for everyone to finish. Okay, there are some slow writers, right? Okay, now we'll come. We have to complete that blank now. From the election of 1912, Mr. Ponnambalam Ramanathan. Sir, Ponnambalam Ramanathan. Even you can write Mr. or Sir. Ponnambalam Ramanathan was appointed as the educated Ceylonese for the Legislative Council. So highlight that. That is us as an MCQ. Right now we'll see what is there in the tute. After that, I think we completed the third page. Now the temperance movement. We'll go to the whiteboard and see what temperance movement was. So you know that I think this is better by using the whiteboard and just explaining before writing because it's effective. As Sri Lankan students, we just actually online education is not this one. This is not actually online education. Here, what we do, just give the notes through online. Online education is something else that is not practiced in Sri Lanka. Okay, so however, our students they need that whiteboard always, right? So then only that they can get a clear understanding. So by 1910, 1911, once again the state income was less. So state income became gone down. So because of that, they decided to pass the Excise Act. Excise Act means in the Legislative Council they passed an act to start toddy stalls. Toddy, you know that toddy means what? Toddy means that something that we get from this alcoholic something we get from the coconut tree. So that like in these type of pots normally they are producing toddy. So we normally we call it as rata barrel. So rata barrel. So they wanted to start toddy stalls throughout the country. So in 1910 and 1911 only they passed this Excise Act to start liquor stores throughout the country. So because of this, what happened throughout the country, they started toddy stalls, and there was an increasing habit of consuming toddy. So increasing habit of consuming toddy. Now even you can see though how much the corona problem is there. You just see in the evening in front of a bar or that liquor bar. So many people, no. So like that at that time also the people they started drinking more liquor means toddy, and that increased the income of the government. So that what happened? There was a social degeneration. There was a social degeneration. So social degeneration means what? There were many problems in the society. Maybe family problems, maybe the social problems because many these started drinking. So against this Excise Act, some leaders they started or starting a struggle or a movement to make people aware of the disadvantages of the liquor drinking habit. So that was known as temperance movement. So temperance movement was what then? The movement started by some leaders to show the people, to make the people aware of the disadvantages of the liquor drinking habit. So why we study this about this temperance movement? Because of the temperance movement, there was an increasing struggles. That means the national struggle or the independence struggle became accelerated. The independent struggle became accelerated. Now you should know. Now sometimes they are giving a question to explain temperance movement. Write a short note about temperance movement. Then you should know what it was, how it happened. So what it was, how it happened, what were the results of the it, what were the results, social degeneration, what were the reactions of the local leaders. and how it affected for the acceleration of the independence struggle. So these five things you must write in your answer. What you are going to write? What it was? What was the temperance movement? Temperance movement was the struggle or the movement started by the leaders, local leaders, against the Excise Act of British. Then you have to explain what it was, why it was, the reason. The reason was during 1910 and 1911 there was a decreasing of the state income. So to increase the state income, they passed the Excise Act. Under Excise Act, many toddy stores had been started throughout the country. What were the results of that? The results was what? There was a social degeneration, many social problems, many family problems. Then what were the result? What was the reaction? The reaction of the local leaders. Local leaders they started a struggle against this, and they started many non-alcoholic associations, temperance associations we call them as. In many areas, in many cities in the country, they started non-alcoholic associations. Okay, through these non-alcoholic associations they started making people aware of the disadvantages of liquor drinking habit, and they started writing articles in newspapers. They started showing some of the short dramas related to this, and they started educating people through meetings, and they started criticizing the government. So the main advantage or the main result of this temperance movement was what? In Sri Lanka, there were two types of leaders: middle class leaders and Renaissance leaders. Who were the middle class leaders? They were the rich and educated group. They have gone to England and they have completed their studies and they were rich, they were educated. Who were the Renaissance leaders? Renaissance leaders were the poor leaders. And they were the leaders of the national renaissance that we learned in the third lesson, that Buddhist leaders, Hindu leaders, and Muslim leaders, they were not rich. They were not so much educated, some were educated. Like Anagarika, right? Henry C. Lorcan, he was educated. Arumuga Navala, educated person, but not so rich. So these people were rich and educated. So those two leaders, they were not together. They were not working together. They were always working that in two different paths. So these two leaders had been got together. These two types of leaders had to got together. That's why the independence struggle became increased, because the two types of leaders they got together and they started contributing for the national renaissance or the independence struggle. So these things you have to explain in one paragraph. Okay, now I think you got a clear understanding about the temperance movement. If not, please ask any questions about temperance movement. You can. Any question? Any question related to this? If not, we can go for the note. Anything, Sayoni? Ah, I know that. That's why I asked the name, right? Can you explain once again? I'll be explaining once again, right? Right. So once again, slowly. Here, during 1910, 1911, the government income once again had gone down. They wanted to increase the government income. What was the step that they have taken to increase the government income? They passed the Excise Act. Excise Act means what? To start toddy stalls throughout the country, they have passed a bill in the Legislative Council. So after passing the Excise Act, many toddy stalls were started throughout the country. So in many places, toddy stalls. Okay, in many places, toddy stalls they start. Because of starting toddy stalls, toddy consuming habit, alcohol drinking habit became increased. Due to this increasing of alcohol consuming habit, there was a social degeneration. There was a social degeneration. So what do you mean by social degeneration? So there were many social problems, many family problems, many economic problems in the society. So, with seeing these disadvantages of liquor drinking, the local leaders, there were two types of local leaders, the middle class leaders and the Renaissance leaders. They were the rich and educated leaders in Sri Lanka. They were the leaders of the Renaissance, national Renaissance, like Anagarika Dhanapala, Arumuga Navala, Siddhi Lepi, those leaders. They were working not together, they were working separately. But both were struggling for the national Renaissance to get the independence struggle. However, they started reacting. What were their reactions? They started non-alcoholic associations. So many members were added to these associations. The members, they started working to make people aware of the disadvantages of alcohol consumption. Okay. Even they started writing articles to newspapers regarding the disadvantages of this alcohol consumption, especially toddy. And even they started holding meetings and making people, teaching people about the disadvantages. Now, because of this, liquor consumption habit did not come down. Now, even it's increasing. Okay. But what was the major result of this? These two leaders, they started criticizing the government in these temperance stages, and the independence struggle became increased. Now it's clear. When writing once again, I think you can make it clear. Okay. Once again, when you are writing piece to piece, when something is not clear, once again tell me. Okay. Right. Excise Act of the Government. Results of the Excise Act. Now, what is the Excise Act? To start liquor, the toddy bars throughout the country, the government passed the Excise Act during 1911, 1910, 1911. Okay, now we go to the slideshow and write them. Okay, right. Now, what is this temperance movement? Excise Act of the government. The decision of the government to impose a new excise ordinance in 1912, giving permission to open new toddy bars. Throughout the country, they started toddy bars. Write that one by one. We'll write, and one by one. Once again, I am just going to explain. The class is ending at 3:30 as we started at 1:30. Okay, then what? Results of the Excise Act. So when organizing classes, you just don't organize classes like when ending the class at 3, another class at 3. That has no use. When studying also, you have to study as chunks of 45 minutes. So when some people study more than 45 minutes continuously, the absorbing power is very less. Okay, so that you are not absorbed. So then you have to have a break of 15 minutes after 45 minutes. And then once again, you have to start once again another chunk of 45 minutes. Once again, have a break. Have a break means just stand up from the place where you study and just go here and there and come back and once again have a drink of water. Like then once again start studying 45 minutes. Even the classes are like that. So when you organize classes from this class to that class to other class, like continuously within one day, six classes is not possible. That's too much for people. Even the brighter students can't afford, can't tolerate. So it has no use, right? So that's why one is asking that what time the class is ending. Yeah, I know that I have another class at 3. Okay, that's up to you. But I told you, these continuous classes from that after this to another, after that to another, very less use. You will get the result, okay, uh, when writing the answers, right? Okay, so these are the results of the Excise Act. Many toddy bars were opened throughout the country, increasing the habit of alcohol consumption, birth of a social degeneration. What is the objective of the temperance movement? The objective of the temperance movement was what? Making the general public aware of the disadvantages of the alcohol consumption habit. Actually, it's not that the objective to reduce the habit of alcohol consumption. So that is not possible. I told you that even now it's increasing day by day. It's increasing day by day. The number of liquor bars are increased. So here the main objective was what? Making general public aware of the disadvantages of the alcohol consumption habit. Then special features of the agitations of the temperance movement. You have to highlight. That's in pink color. Attempting to create a public opinion against the excise policy of the government. That means They wanted to create a public opinion, a kind of idea in the minds of the people against this excise act. Unition of the middle class English educated and the activists of the religious renaissance. I told you there were two types of leaders in Sri Lanka, middle class leaders and the renaissance leaders. Both leaders were working in two ways, but here they have once again started working together. Building up of a network of non-alcoholic associations. I told you in every city they started non-alcoholic associations based on the Central Non-Alcoholic Council in Colombo. The Colombo was the main council. In relation to that council, there were a network of non-alcoholic associations, and they got that they allowed the common people to come as members, and the members of these non-alcoholic associations they stopped consuming alcohol, and they became the educators of the public regarding the disadvantages of the liquor consumption habit and criticizing the government activities in non-alcoholic protests. That's a major thing that affected the British government. The British government activities had been severely criticized by these leaders in these non-alcoholic protests. Right then? Right, so completed this one. Results of the temperance movement. The activities of the movement were successful in gathering people around the associations. The government was facing difficulties to face activities of the temperance movement. These are the results. Results of the temperance movement. Right. So then what happened? Write this and we'll discuss what happened. So today I started at 1:30 because there were some students they could not join at 1:30. Sorry, 1. Now then next week once again I'll start at 1:15. Then because there are some students who can have to go for the classes at 3 then at least 50 minutes are lost for those people who cannot join at 1. And from the ending time also once again 15 minutes miss from the people who has to leave at 3. So then average 150 to 350. Right. I think finish writing. So then we'll move on to the next one. So then what happened because of the temperance movement? The government was facing a lot of difficulties to face. They also wanted to find something to settle this, and they our people gave them an incident or a kind of reason. In 1950, in Gampola area, a small incident happened. It was attacking of Muslims on a Buddhist procession. So Buddhist perahera. So normally Buddhist were holding perahera. No? There was a Buddhist procession. Muslims attacked. It's a very small incident, but because of this incident between and Muslims, Sinhalese and Muslims, there was a struggle. It was known as Single Muslim struggle in 1915. Started from Gampola, then spread to Candian regions, and British purposely made it spreading throughout the country. British purposely made it spreading throughout the country. So what was the objective of British to making it spreading throughout the country? Normally, British in India used the divide and rule policy. If they use the divide and rule policy, it's very easy for them. How India was divided as Hindus and Muslims. Hindus and Muslims. They promoted Hindu-Muslim struggles. Hindus and Muslims were the locals and they started fighting with each other. Then British were easy to rule India. The result was what? Birth of Pakistan from this end and Bangladesh from this end. These regions were belonging to India at the beginning. Pakistan regions and Bangladesh regions were inside India. But they formed two separate countries for Muslims. Pakistan and Bangladesh now being even they are having problems. Okay, the results of the divide and rule policy. Even in Sri Lanka, British wanted to divide our community as Muslim and Sinhala, but this was not so much successful like in India. But this was something that they created and they interpreted this as a political movement against the government and they promoted this to be spread throughout the country and promoted Sinhala Muslim right. So they suppressed this movement in favor of Muslims. Here also they supported Muslims. And many Sinhala leaders were arrested. Some leaders were killed. Sir Ponnambalam Ramanathan only worked hard to release these Sinhala leaders. So, however, Sinhala Muslim Pride of 1915 is the second movement that influenced the national movement of Sri Lanka. What was the result of this? Sinhala leaders they understood the need of being liberated from the British rule. So, Sinhala leaders they understood the need of being liberated from the British rule. Now, here in the exam, sometimes now last year they have not given any question from the 7th and 8th lessons, thinking that you have not learned. They paid more attention on these lessons and given questions. This time also that may happen. If that happens, they will give more questions from here. One of the possible questions that can be given from this section is what? Write short notes on temperance movement, Sinhala Muslim riot, and the third one is that Suryamal program. So that we are going to learn. Okay, if so, you have to write short notes on this. But in the textbook, very less information about single Muslim bride, right? Okay, now we'll go to that one. Any question? Any question? No question? Okay, we are writing here then. Okay, here. Results of temperance movement. British government had interpreted Sinhala Muslim Riot of 1915 as a political movement against the government and adopted a heresy policy in the suppression. We'll write this note there, this note. So we have to do map marking also today. For a long time we did not do. Okay, I think finished writing. Okay, in the tute. Now we have to do a little bit more, right? Without going to this one, we'll stop from here and go for map marking. And this one, influence of the Indian national movement. So when we come to the next reformation, it's Manning. For the Manning reformations, there was an influence of the temperance movement as well as the Indian national movement. Indian national movement was led by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so that means mainly Mahatma Gandhi. So one such very famous story why he was wearing this cloth. You can see here he is wearing a white cloth. Initially, he was wearing that Western dresses like the coats and ties and trousers and all right. So when he was working in South Africa as a barrister, he was using that because got his education, high education in England, and he had used to the Western culture. But later on, what happened? Even in the Indian national struggle, he was using that Western dress. One day, when he visited a poor village, the villagers were coming one by one to worship him, to respect him, and to tell their problems. So once that a lady came, a poor lady came. Barrister means now asking a question. Barrister, barrister means actually lawyer, right? Barrister means lawyer. Yeah, lawyer, right? So then one lady came, and she was using a piece of cloth actually to cover the body. So at that time there was a huge problem in India regarding the clothes. What was the problem here? You know that British from India, British from India, they have taken all the raw materials of cotton. All the raw materials they were taking from India, taking to England, making clothes, and once again those clothes, cotton clothes, were sold to Indians for higher prices. The poor Indians they had no money to buy these cotton cloths. That's why the clothes in India, they cannot do their that textile industry. They cannot produce any clothes. It's not allowed by the British, so they had to buy the British products. British products were from England, and the raw materials for those products had been taken from India. So then that lady was coming with a piece of cloth covering the body, and then she told, sir, please wait for a moment. My husband will come after some times to worship you. Then he asked, why you two cannot come together? Because you two should could have come together and worship me. Then the lady told, sir, excuse me, it's not a disrespect for you that we both have not come together. We did not come together because we both have only one cloth to cover our body. So when we come to worship you, I have to when we come out, I have to come first, covering the body by that cloth, and then after going home only, my husband can come out covering the body. So that means even for the house, sometimes they were using a small piece of cloth that's not very good to come out. So then Mahatma Gandhi he also thought, if my people are wearing like this and suffering like this, why should I wear these Western clothes? And from that day, he went home and he removed all his Western clothes and he started wearing this white piece of cloth. Even when he visited England to see the Queen, he was only using this cloth, even not wearing slippers. So when he visited England, in English papers, the main heading was the Indian Fakir came to see the Queen. So what do you mean by Fakir? Fakir means Sannasya. Sannasya means those people who wander with one cloth, wearing one cloth on the road. Now you can see those people regularly, but at in the history we could see they have no place to live, and they have no proper that profession, and they had to ask food from the others. Even they are not so religious, they are just like wearing a white cloth, pretending like religious, but them is not the religious, so they were known as sannasya or sannasya. So the word fakir means sannyasi. So that's how, that means insulting. Even the British newspapers insulted Mahatma Gandhi regarding his visit to see the Queen, like Indian fakir came to see the Queen. So even to see the Queen, he went with this cloth, wearing this cloth, and even not wearing even slippers. He was the only person allowed to see the Queen with that cloth. No one can go to see the Queen with such a cloth, because it's a disrespect for the Queen. Okay, yeah, okay, right. So Sarah can get the recording as you are leaving, right? Okay, so then the to strengthen Sri Lankan national movement, Indian national movement, which had been started in 1885, had a great influence. India received more independent reforms than Sri Lanka because of that struggle, because Indian national movement was so stronger. So leaders of the Indian national movement and Mahatma Gandhi, and then we'll write about the Ceylon National Congress, the beginning, the first president and the importance. Then we go for the map marking. Okay, those slides I could not prepare, so that what we do now, we are going to write. Okay, right. So write that one. The leaders of the Indian national movement. The leaders of the Indian national movement. Right, leaders of the Indian national movement. Who are the leaders? Main leader Mahatma Gandhi. Dada Bhai Narolji. Dada Bhai Narolji. Who was Dada Bhai Narolji? He was known as the grand old man of India. He was very old, and he was a member of the British Parliament, living in England, but an Indian. So he was working towards the independence of India. And Bal Gandhar Tilak, he was also one of the leaders. So we'll write about Mahatma Gandhi. We'll write about Mahatma Gandhi. He came to Sri Lanka. They're writing about his coming to Sri Lanka only, yeah? Sri Lanka, spent few days here and addressed the public that created an increased motivation to get independency, to get independency. So he came to Sri Lanka. Even he visited with that Jawaharlal Nehru. Here you can write another name also, Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, then we'll go to what? Then we'll go to this one. What is this? As a result, they are started a well-organized national movement after 1915. Ceylon National Congress. What was this Ceylon National Congress? Ceylon National Congress. Ceylon National Congress. So our leaders wanted to get the support of all the leaders belonging to different communal groups like Tamil leaders, Muslim leaders, and all. In order to get the support of those different communities, they formed one organization, that was the Ceylon National Congress. Beginning. Beginning. Local leaders of Sri Lanka wanted to get the support of leaders of different communities and started this organization in 1919. So that was the year that they started this. So who became the first president of this? So Ponnambalam, Arunachalam only became the first president. First president of the Congress. Sir Ponnambalam Arunachalam. What are the importance of this? We know that what is the importance here? Importance. What are the importance? That they could get the support of all the communal groups. The support of all the communal groups could be obtained through Ceylon National Congress. Actually, this had been formed after the arrival of Mahatma Gandhi. In India, there was the Indian National Congress. So always in Sri Lanka, we have the copies of them, no? Copies of Indian things, no? So here the same thing happened. This was a copy of the Indian National Congress. So highlights of Ponnambalam Arunachalam, I make it in pink color or the purple color, right? And this one 1919, Ceylon National Congress, underline or highlight. And this one once again pink color. Right, so we are not drawing Manning reforms today. What we do, we go for a map marking and we'll revise one map marking today and we'll do a map and see whether you can go up to date related to maps. Okay, finish now. Shall we go for map marking?
No, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Right, what was the last map that we have done or revised? I think Kaluganga region we did. Right, Kaluganga region we did now. This one we did, right? Check your map marking books. Yes. Then how about the seventh map? Southwestern region. That's also finished. And the eighth map. Huh? We stopped from four. Sure. Didn't we do these maps? This one only we did. This one we did, right? Okay, then we'll go to the fifth map, right? So that it says that we have stopped from fourth map. Okay, right, we do. Kaliganga region. Check whether anything new is there for you to mark. So those who did this one with me earlier, if you have something to add, please add it. Okay, Kaliganga region. Right, we take one by one these dots. First one is what? First one is Lunuvilla. See Lunuvilla where? This is Colombo. When you come along the coastline, you will find the Nigambu Lagoon. Just after Nigambu Lagoon, centimeter, half a centimeter, this is Lonovilla. That dot should be placed on the coastline. Lonovilla dot should be placed on the coastline. It should touch the coastline because it's a coastal city. What is the importance of Lunevilla? Coconut Research Center is located in Lunevilla. Coconut Research Center. Then you can place a dot here at this cape. At this cape, like it is what? It's Nigambu. It's Nigambu. That dot should be at this cape. Just passing this lagoon here. The sea must be there, not the lagoon. Sea must be there for this dot, right? Here. Then you can place another dot here. This is at the lagoon, but in the coast of the lagoon. This is what? Katunayaka. Katunayaka. So then we'll come to this one. So I think I have sent this tute, right? So the tute, the map tute with second part. Okay, if not, I will be sending you, right? So then you can see this dot. This is what? This is Kalani River. When you come down along the Kalani River, this dot you can place. It's Kalaniya. It's Kalaniya. Then we'll come to this dot. So this one, once again along the Kalani River. No, sorry, this one. This one is Colombo. It should touch the coastline. It must be at this cape. And just inside that, that is what? Kote. Kote dot must be not touching the coastline. It should be just away from the coastline because for Kote there's no coastline, no beach. But for Colombo there's a beach. The distance in between Colombo dot and Kote dot should not be that much, like quarter of 1 centimeter, quarter of 1 centimeter, like. And then we'll come to this one. What is that? Biagama. Calania Biagama. That is like half a centimeter, like in between these two dots. Half a centimeter, like. Then we'll come to this dot. What is it? Malvana. Malvana. All these regions are located close by to the Kalani River. Then this dot, it is what? Sitavaka. It is Sitavaka. See the Sitavaka dot where? It is here. This river comes and divides into two at the division place. That's Sitavaka. Then what is this dot? It is Nikavalamulla. Nikavalamulla is one of the places where you can see what? Clay burials. Then this one, that is Maniamgama, a prehistoric site. So when this reverse tributary comes like this and divides like this and like 1 centimeter away from this place, like that's Maniamgama. This is what? In between Nigambu and this end, just in between. So that's what? Dambadaniya. So if anyone is have marked this thing with me earlier, you can just mark the new things. The others they can just revise this one. Once again, we will do it. Okay, Lunuvilla, Nigambu, Katunayaka, Kalania, Kalambu, Kote, Biagama, Malvana, Sitavaka, Nikavalamulla, Maniamgama, Dambadani. Once again, without these labels, Lunuvilla, Nigambu, Katunayaka, Kalania, Kalambu, Kote, Biyagama, Malvana, Sitavaka, Nikavalamulla, Maniamgama, Dabadani. Okay, so that also we marked. Okay, right. So then I'm not going for Kaluganga. Kaluganga region we did. Right, Kaluganga region we will do next time. So then next week we'll start at 1:15 because there are some students who can't join at 1. So then 1:15. Even 3:15 will finish. Then only 15 minutes are missed by the people who can't join at 1 and people who have to leave the meeting at 3. So only 15 minutes lost now. So we'll make it like 1:15 to 3:15. Okay, right. So then I'm going to finish today's work. And my next, the last information for the day is what? Please start studying. I'm going to send you some worksheets to do. They are revision worksheets, questions. Please do them and keep. While in the class, sometimes we can revise them, discussing questions and answers, right? Now we have not written a big answers even for a long time. Okay, then finishing today's work. Good evening, good afternoon, and God bless.
Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir.
okay, okay,
Thank you, sir. God bless.
okay.